Hello, my name is Rich Perrell and I'm the Director of Human Resources at Virginia Military Institute. In this presentation I'll be discussing what I view as keys to job search success, specifically highlighting transferable skills and being adaptable. Thank you for joining me today. For me, in any job search process, I think it's imperative that applicants understand how their skills and experience align with the position that they're applying for, and that they highlight those skills in their resume and cover letter. Today I'll be walking you through my experience in looking for a job as part of the dual career process and some of the lessons I learned that I think are applicable to any job search. I want to first provide you with an overview of what I hope to accomplish with today's presentation. Using my career as an example, I'll highlight the importance of finding your transferable skills and then emphasizing those skills on your resume and cover letters. I'll then talk to you about being adaptable during the job search process, and at the end I'll discuss some of the resources you can use to help you. I think that in order to understand the challenge I faced, I want to review my background so that you can recognize that I had a very specific skill set that might not be viewed as applicable to my current career. I graduated the Naval Academy in 2003 and shortly after graduation began training as a naval aviator. I completed flight school in 2004 and served as a Navy pilot on active duty until December 2012. While in the Navy, I flew the P-3 Orion, which carries a crew of 11 and has a primary mission of hunting submarines. As you can see, this is a very specific skill set that's probably better translated to being an airline pilot instead of having a career in HR. So it was with that background that I began my job search process. So here's my dual career challenge. In the fall of 2012, as I was about to leave active duty, my wife was offered a tenure-track position at Washington and Lee Law School located in Lexington, Virginia. At this point, I was stationed in Washington, D.C. and had an offer to begin work at a federal consulting firm in Northern Virginia once I got off of active duty. So, of course, when she told me the news, my first response was, "Congratulations!" Receiving an offer for a tenure-track position was a tremendous achievement and I was really happy for her. But soon after that, I began to ask the logical questions that come along in a dual career household. The first obviously being, where is Lexington? Well, Lexington, Virginia is a small town with a population of about 7,000 people located in the Shenandoah Valley. It's about as opposite from DC as you can get. The next question revolved around the job opportunities. In Lexington, there are only really two major employers, Washington and Lee University and the Virginia Military Institute. The other employment areas are Roanoke and Charlottesville, but they're over an hour away. I then questioned whether I could continue my current career. As I mentioned, I had an offer to start at a consulting firm, but it became quickly apparent that I would not be able to continue that job if I relocated to Lexington. Without any experience with the firm, I essentially began the job search process again, relying solely on my military background, and it seemed apparent to me that it would be difficult to translate those skills to the job opportunities in the Lexington area. Ultimately, I really had no idea what I was qualified to do. I had a very specific skill set in a limited job market that didn't seem to align with the positions that were available. So I started looking at the job opportunities available to me, and what I want to do here is show you one of the ads for one of the jobs that I actually applied to. The ad up here is for the actual position that I was eventually hired for, the Assistant Director of Human Resources at Virginia Military Institute. At first glance, it didn't seem that I was really qualified for this position, obviously. If you look at some of the skills and experience and requirements of the position, you can see that doesn't really align with what experience I would have as a Navy pilot. For example, you look at something like ensure HR's compliance with all relevant facts and state employment laws and daily operation, meet with employees to resolve complaints and grievances, serve as the Institute's designated ADA coordinator. A lot of those didn't align with my background. And then to further complicate it, you look at some of the requirements for the position. You look at experience in personnel management, policy development, training assessment, and mediation. I was really confused as to whether I would actually be qualified for that type of position. However, in going through this career change process, I recognized that there were several key components to success, and I want to highlight a few of them here. For me, the most important was really conducting a skills inventory. This allowed me to see how my background and experience transferred to the various positions I was applying for. And then looking at a limited job market, it was also clear that I needed to maintain flexibility in the types of positions that I was looking for. I couldn't just focus in on one specific position. I really had to be open to a variety of positions if I were to have success in a limited job market. Finally, I used a lot of outside resources that were available. In the next few minutes, we'll go over each one of these in detail and how it applied to my specific situation, but more importantly, how you can utilize them in your job search process. As I mentioned, I thought the most important aspect of my ability to apply for one of these positions was to conduct a skills inventory. It was really critical for me to flesh out the skills and experience that I gained in the military and then transfer those skills and experience to the positions I was applying for. This way the person that was reviewing my resume would better understand what my responsibilities were. So what I've done for you here is actually lay out the various positions that I held in the military and how they actually read on my resume. Specifically, I want to draw your attention to the Safety NATOPS Division Officer position. Now, that's how that position was actually listed on my resume. NATOPS stands for Naval Aviation Training Operations Procedures Standardization. If you're not a Navy pilot, how are you actually going to understand what it is I did in that position? And to further confuse somebody who's reviewing my resume and not a Navy pilot, here's how I describe the job responsibilities for that position. Supervise the administrative and operational efforts of 6 NATOPS track managers encompassing more than 160 personnel. Led squadron's evaluation program to ensure that all 120 aircrew remain fully qualified and combat ready while operating from multiple deployment locations. It's obviously it would be extremely difficult for somebody without any military experience, or more specifically naval aviation experience, to really understand both the responsibilities of the position and the skills and experience that I gained from serving in that position. So what I really had to do was to conduct what I call a skills inventory in order to highlight the skills and experience that I gained and then align them with the positions that I was applying for. In doing that, let's take a look at some of the skills I gained while serving as the Safety NATOPS Division Officer. So in conducting my skills inventory, I recognized that there were certain skills and experience that I earned in those positions or I obtained. For example, training development, training implementation, training evaluation, program management, leadership, and teamwork. Those are the skills that were required that I gained from performing in that position, but I had yet to really highlight them on my resume. And again, we can take a look at another position, administrative officer. Helps professionally develop midshipmen into effective naval officers, manages all of the command's outside correspondence, personnel evaluations, and instructions, supervises the civilian employees assigned to the unit. Again, if you look at how I describe that position, it's difficult for someone without military experience to really understand what it is I did and the skills and experience I gained from that position. So again, I conducted another skills inventory, and as you can see, some of the skills and experience I gained were in personnel management, career counseling, contract administration, training coordination, recruitment. Again, there are a number of different skills that I can now highlight on my application. As I conducted my skills inventory, it became clear that I could better describe my position so that the person reading my resume had a better understanding of what it is that I did. Because some of the position titles were military specific, this is more of a helpful tool for me. I use more general descriptors along with the official titles in order to provide clarity. For example, for administrative officer, I would put something like personnel department head. Next to primary pilot NATOPS evaluator, I would put chief training evaluator. For safety NATOPS division officer, safety training program manager, and for flight officer, operations officer. These descriptors help better highlight that I had transferable skills related to the position that I was applying for. Additionally, the skills inventory allowed me to better describe the responsibilities of the position. I was able to show that I had the skills and experience necessary for the positions I was applying for. For example, the job responsibilities that I had previously tried to use to describe the safety NATOPS position became much clearer after the skills inventory. For example, those top 2 bullets for safety NATOPS division officer became the bottom 3 bullets there for the safety training program manager. You can better understand my responsibilities as well as the skills and experience I gained in the position from the bottom 3 bullets much more so than you can from the top 2 bullets. The same thing happened with administrative officer. You can see that after conducting a skills inventory, I was better able to highlight the skills and experience that I gained in that position. Now, armed with a better understanding of the skills that I gained in my military career, I'm now able to look at the position of Assistant Director of Human Resources and recognize that I did have the skills and experience necessary to be qualified for the position. Not only that, but after my skills inventory, I was able to highlight those skills and experience on my resume. In my mind, the skills inventory is a critical process to finding your transferable skills and then applying those skills to potential career opportunities. And moving on to the next part, After conducting the skills inventory and focusing on potential career and job opportunities, I recognized that I needed to be flexible throughout that job search process. Specifically, what I'm talking about is looking at what's important to you in a new job or career, and we'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide. I think that it's important not to just focus on one career and one potential job, that you look at what skills you have and look to apply them across various careers or job opportunities. You might be surprised at how your skills and experience apply across a wide spectrum of careers. I certainly didn't expect to end up with a career in HR after leaving active duty, but I didn't just focus on one career. I was open up to a number of possibilities. As I mentioned, as you go through the job search process, you really do need to determine what's important to you, because I think we all want to be realistic in realizing that we're not going to get exactly what we want. This slide here shows some of the sample key factors that may come into consideration as you look at a new career. For me, in moving to Lexington, location was of primary importance. I didn't really want a long commute. Also, I put a lot more weight on advancement opportunities. I wanted to be in a career where I had the opportunity to move up. For me, personally, at that time, salary and level of responsibility were less important. For you, I think it's important to determine what your key factors are and how flexible you're willing to be with those factors as you look for a new career. As I mentioned, this slide right here isn't comprehensive. You need to determine what factors are important to you. Finally, during the job search and career process, I used all available resources to help me. For example, visiting with career services, attending resume workshops, and networking all help. They help you conduct a skills inventory, better understand available job opportunities, and allow you to meet other people in a specific career field. You don't need to do it alone, and I encourage you to utilize whatever resources are available at your disposal. As we conclude, I just want to highlight that these are the keys that I found to the job search process. I had a very specialized career as a Navy pilot and was able to transition a career in human resources where I was first hired as the assistant director and then promoted to director once the previous director retired. I believe I was able to find this new career by examining the skills and experience that I gained in various positions throughout my military career and then translate those to the position that I was applying for. Since Lexington offered a limited job market, I also needed to prioritize key factors during that job search process. But I didn't do it alone, and you shouldn't either. There are resources to help you. Looking for a new career is a stressful process, but it's important to recognize that at the beginning so you can manage expectations going forward. I hope you found this presentation helpful and wish you the best of luck in your job search.